Good afternoon. I'm George Latimer, Westchester County Executive. Welcome to our Westchester Weekly Update. Today is Monday, November 4th. We have a lot of things to cover today. Deputy County Executive Ken Jenkins will be covering most of them with you. We will have in a few minutes our first Deputy Commissioner of the Department of Social Services, John Beefus, who will give us an update on the Home Energy Assistance Program, HEAP, which is very important as the weather just starts to turn a little colder, and you want to know what you can do to try to help yourself afford some of the heating bills that are going to be coming. We also have with us Commissioner of our Department of Planning, Blanca Lopez, who will talk about the World Town Planning Day that's going to be coming up later this year, and the theme of that conference, which is Homes Start with Planning. As I said, Ken Jenkins, our Deputy County Executive, will be on board to cover this and, as usual, update of parks and some other things. But I want to address personally an issue that's come up and been the source of much discussion and most recently press conference, and that is the case of Fernando Jimenez. Last week, an individual residing in the town of Somers, Fernando Jimenez, 40 years of age, reportedly shot his girlfriend and her two sons and fled the scene of the shooting. He was apprehended by the police about 10 miles away from crime sources, and he was brought in, arraigned, and he was charged with murder as one of the two young men that he shot died of their wounds. The other two individuals are currently in critical condition, and so therefore the charge will be 2 counts of attempted murder, and that may change depending on the status of the other two individuals who are right now fighting for their lives. Jimenez is under custody in the Westchester County Jail, and he will be held under custody over an extended period of time. The Somers Town Court, which has jurisdiction over the immediate incident, has reset the date of Monday, November 18th, 2 weeks from tonight, when it is expected that in their court action, they will refer the case from the town court to the county court. Our county courts, Westchester County Court, is a court where criminal prosecution can occur. It is expected that the Westchester County District Attorney, acting under her own independent authority, will prosecute Mr. Jimenez, and I would expect to the fullest extent of the law. There is no sanctuary for Fernando Jimenez. He will face accountability for his actions. Anyone who says otherwise is not telling you the truth. The Federal Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency has requested a detainer for Mr. Jimenez, which would allow them to take charge of Mr. Jimenez from our jail. There is no necessity for a detainer. Mr. Jimenez is not being released to the public. Generally, when ICE asks for a detainer, they intend to deport a person who has not been documented as authorized to reside in the United States. We have maintained a dialogue with ICE. We have on this case as we have on others, and we've informed them that Mr. Jimenez remains in our custody and will not be released as he faces the full extent of the law. Mr. Jimenez was apprehended once, roughly about 20 years ago, and was turned over to ICE, and ICE deported him, and he found a way to come back into the United States subsequently. So if we want justice to be done, deporting him again is of no value. Protecting our citizens requires him to remain in our custody in our county jail and to face all of the prosecution that will follow. Westchester County law allows for ICE to take possession of any individual who may be in our county custody if they provide a federal judicial order, which is easily obtained from the U.S. District Federal Court located here in downtown White Plains. Why does the county require this? Because we hold individuals in our prisons at the direction of a local town, village, city, county, or state court who has the judicial authority when they are arraigned. And we need a federal court judge to override that local judicial order if we're going to maintain the system of laws that protect us all. We will comply with that order. We will do it readily. So the argument that somehow someone is being retained and given sanctuary is not true. There are many people out there who hold views that believe that in this federal government of ours there is a deep state, a devious group of people that act outside of judicial and legal responsibilities, government agencies acting on their own. We simply require that there be a federal judicial oversight by a magistrate or a judge that would then allow ICE to have the authority to take someone in our possession and turn it over to them. We don't believe that that is anything like a sanctuary policy. we think is an intelligent check and balance that protects everyone from governmental overreach. We said so in the legislation as it was created. Now, a host of politicians seeking election tomorrow earlier today called for overriding that law, for repealing that law. This law offers a very simple procedure to make sure that justice is done and all sorts of interests are properly protected. If the people at that press conference really cared about public safety, they could have used that platform to call for tougher laws to prevent domestic violence incidents like this. It was the domestic violence incident that was the source of the discussion at the vigil that was held on Saturday night. The tragedy of losing a young man, the potential tragedy of losing a woman and another son because of a domestic violence incident. A few weeks ago, Arlene O'Neill, a mother and a teacher, was murdered by her husband in another domestic violence incident. I didn't see a press conference then. The gun that caused the murder is one more example of a tool of death that is awash on our streets. I didn't see a press conference on that either. Let me summarize. A murder was committed. The accused murderer is under county incarceration and will remain so until he faces justice. Any attempt to turn the public attention away from praying for the victims who deserve our attention and prayer, to turn public attention away from yet another example of a heinous domestic violence incident, or to turn the public's attention away from the gun that an individual who is violent used to murder another individual. All of these attempts are seeking votes. They're not seeking justice. We are committed to implementing programs that have reduced murders in this county demonstrably over the last 7 years. And we have shown our willingness to punish those that do commit murder. I'd like to ask Ken Jenkins to join us and to discuss some of the other issues that are at hand. And he will do so and go through the program with our various guests. Deputy County Executive Ken Jenkins. Thank you, Ken.
Thank you, George. Today, we're going to have our First Deputy Commissioner of our Department of Social Services, John Beefers, give us a quick update on the Home Energy and Assistance Program that includes eligibility, the application process, and available resources. So, with that, let me introduce our First Deputy Commissioner from the Department of Social Services, John Beefers.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon. Thank you, Mr. County Executive and Deputy County Executive Jenkins, for your commitment to the needs of our communities. I'm John Beefus, First Deputy Commissioner, and on behalf of Commissioner Towns, the Commissioner of the Westchester County Department of Social Services, we know that colder weather is on the way. With such nice weather last week, it's hard to imagine that winter is just a few weeks away. And with colder weather and home heating needs, we know that some residents struggle with the cost of these utilities. That's why the Department of Social Services, working with New York State, has opened the federally funded New York State Home Energy Assistance Program, also known as HEAP, effective November 1st. Through an allocation of $1.3 million each of the last 2 heating seasons, the county is able to assist nearly 4,000 residents, depending on their income, household size, living situation, and heating source, with up to $900 toward their heating costs. For example, a single household can qualify with incomes up to more than $39,000 per year, and families of 4 up to more than $76,000 per year. The HEAP program can also help with cleaning or tuning heating equipment, repairs, or even replacement costs if necessary. And beginning in January, we also help with emergency benefits for residents who are facing shutoffs. So how can you learn more about this important program? You can apply directly online at mybenefits.newyork or mybenefits.ny.gov, or call DSS, call us at 914-995-3333, or you can visit one of our district offices at 131 Warburton Avenue in Yonkers, 100 East 1st Street in Mount Vernon, 85 Court Street in White Plains, or 750 Washington Street in Peekskill. Or lastly, you can go to our home energy cost link at our website, socialservices.westchestergov.com. And remember, hope springs eternal, and we will be back next spring to talk about information for cooling assistance next summer. Thank you.
All right, so first we want to thank again our first Deputy Commissioner from Department of Social Services, John Beefus, on that update for the Home Energy Assistance Program, otherwise known as HEAP, and certainly all the resources that the Department of Social Services has, including eligibility and the application process. And as the weather keeps changing on us, when we look like we're in fall, and that we are in fall right now, and the weather is the appropriate temperatures at this point in time, but again, we're going up and down. We'll have 70s going through this week as we almost hit 80 last week. So again, thanks a lot, First Deputy Commissioner. And speaking of that, we know that November 5th, tomorrow, is the general election day throughout the United States. So in New York State, our polling locations are all open from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Again, Tuesday, November 5th. 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Many folks took advantage in Westchester County of the 35 locations for early voting. There were over 180,000 people that took advantage of early voting, and certainly that is their opportunity to do so. You may have an opportunity to go in for mail-in voting. If you have not submitted and sent in your mail-in application, your mail-in ballot, by tomorrow, it has to be postmarked by November 5th. You can actually bring those in person to a polling location and drop them off there as well. So in this time versus the early voting period, you have to vote at your location, at your polling place in your election district. And you should have received a card in the mail where the Board of Elections tells you exactly where that site is. However, you certainly can contact the Board of Elections or look up online to see where those actual locations are under citizensparticipation.westchestergov.com. There's been some questions about the safety of those locations. And again, they're in various municipalities, and there are multiple, so not many more than the 35 locations that we had for early voting. So that should help with some of the lines in the general case. However, again, as long as you're in line before 9 o'clock tonight, on the 5th, you will be allowed to vote. They will actually send someone out to usually be the end of the line if you don't get inside the polling place by 9 o'clock. But don't risk it that long. You can go in before you go to work in the morning. The polls open at 6 a.m. To 9 p.m. And again, we heard some locations in Westchester yesterday had 2-hour waits. And that's a testament of people getting out and making their voice heard through voting. But again, don't do that if you don't have to. Get out there as early as you can, 6 to 9 p.m. tomorrow. When you go into a polling location, your signature is the only identification you need, except when it's the first time you're voting. So when you vote the very first time, you usually have to bring some sort of ID, driver's license, et cetera, would be the most appropriate thing, but you can bring a passport or something else to show who you are the very first time that you vote. And again, no other identification is necessary. No one should ask you for any other identification unless it is the very first time that you're voting. Those addresses, again, for all those polling locations have been added to the county's computer-aided dispatch system that's used by our law enforcement and emergency first responders. So if there is an emergency, they'll be able to get there. They know that right off the bat, whether it's a power outage, and Con Ed and NYSEG have been identified as well. We usually have, depending on that location, if there's a lot of activity, meaning a lot of things happening at that polling site, there usually may be a police officer that's standing there making sure everything is going well, and that's a combination of the municipality and the county police, which are the ones overall that are responsible for the county Board of Elections. Again, no one should be concerned about safety at our locations. Again, in Westchester County, there's been very little challenges that have gone on at those sites. It looks like everyone is participating and using their opportunity to vote. So again, take advantage of that. Make sure if you're voting on election day to flip the ballot over and make sure you take a look at the propositions as well. Get informed on them, do your research, identify all the things that are going on exactly with the proposition by the makers of those propositions, not necessarily the things that are floating around on the internet, because we know sometimes that things that are on the internet are not necessarily true. So again, make sure you take that opportunity to do that research, identify and understand the propositions, flip the ballot over, and make your voice heard. With that, we're going to ask our Commissioner of the Department of Planning, Blanca Lopez, to come up and talk to us about the upcoming World Town Planning Day, which is going to be celebrated this week on November 8th. That's Friday, November 8th, with the theme for this year's Homes Start with Planning. So, Commissioner Lopez.
Thank you, Deputy County Executive. Good afternoon, everybody. I am here today to talk about World Town Planning Day, which is celebrated, as the Deputy County Executive mentioned, on November 8th, which is this Friday. And on this day, which is recognized throughout the world, we recognize the field of planning and the role that planners participate in creating healthy and prosperous communities. This is actually the second year that the Department of Planning is participating in this day. Last year, you may recall that we had the opportunity to team up with our colleagues from the communications department to put together a video to highlight the great work that our county planners do, and viewers were able to learn firsthand about their most memorable experience about working for county planning, but also why they entered the field of planning in the first place, which is really interesting to hear. And if you would like to watch that video, you can find it on our website. This year, we are fortunate again to team up with communications to create a video in support of this year's theme, which is Homes Start with Planning. And we are recognizing the work that our staff does in delivering housing needs that meets the needs of our communities in creating equitable, inclusive, and sustainable housing for all. I want to thank again our communications team, Catherine Chaffee, Carolyn Fortino, Tony Fasciano, and John Bors for helping the department to put together the video. And we are happy to have the participation of our Director of Operations, Joan McDonald, in this video, as well as Leonard Grunfeld, who is our Director of Community Development, and Terry Fleischman, our Director of Housing. I am extremely proud of the work that our department does every day to address the needs of communities, especially in the area of housing, whether it is to comment on proposed land use actions from local municipalities, whether it is to design funding programs. For example, we have an upcoming announcement where we are funding public housing authorities to do capital improvements in their rental units, or also to assist homeowners and rentals with a variety of property improvement programs in their homes and apartments. The work that we do truly makes a difference every day in the county. And now it is my pleasure to introduce the video for this year's World Town Planning Day theme, Homes Start with Planning. Enjoy. Thank you. World Town Planning Day is celebrated throughout the world to celebrate all the great work that planners do. The planning department works to address the needs of communities. We have 45 municipalities. We understand that there are different types of needs that the county as a whole could address, one of them being affordable housing.
The planning department is the backbone of building housing in Westchester County.
Since 2019, we have invested more than $190 million for the development of affordable housing. And for housing implementation funds, we have invested $200 million.
At the end of the day, I enjoy the work because ultimately it's helping people, making a difference. It hits on economic development in terms of jobs, construction jobs.
Every little bit helps, and it's getting there, taking out as many barriers as possible to get from point A to point B to getting that affordable housing built or maintained.
We created a housing flex fund of $90 $90 million for affordable units in late 2023. We have identified 15 projects in 7 communities across the county that will build over 1,200 new units of affordable housing. This will provide much needed housing for frail elderly, for families, for singles with affordability whose incomes are 65% of affordable median income or less. And this is a great way to expand our housing portfolio.
Home Starts with Planning is a terrific theme, highlighting that a lot of the housing programs starts in the planning department. Happy World Town Planning Day, Westchester.
We want to thank our Commissioner of Planning, Blanca Lopez, all of the professionals that are in the planning department and the folks that participated in the video, but certainly we want to ensure and congratulate them on their hard work. But that information is yet one of the services provided by our county government. A lot of times people don't get that full visibility to, and it's the tremendous job of those planning professionals that make Westchester the great place that it is. So on World Town Planning Day, that's getting ready to be celebrated on the 8th, take an opportunity to make sure that homes start with great planning. So thanks again, everyone. Flipping finally to the parks in Westchester County and our recently recognized nationally accredited award-winning park system. This Thursday, November 7th, Hilltop Hanover Farm and Environmental Center in Yorktown Heights is going to be doing Farm to Fable. Again, it's from 10 to 11 a.m. for its ages 3 to 6, where they get to explore the whimsy of the world around them by combining storytelling with hands-on activities on the farm straight from the tale. So this registration for this class is required online, and then you also can contribute and pay what you would like. That will happen on November 21st, and then again on December 5th and 19th, so basically 2 weeks apart. Again, Farm to Fable in the farm, so it's going to be great. Friday, November 8th, we have the Mall Walk. You know, the Mall Walks happen every Tuesday and Friday, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., notwithstanding this week where there's a holiday. They still are out there because the mall is still open, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. You can go on your own pace or get motivated by joining the inspiring group of people who expanded the program into a small community. Again, Tuesdays and Fridays, doing the Mall Walk, and now that the weather's getting cooler, it may be a great opportunity to enjoy yourself and get your walk on. Alfred B. Del Bello Muscoot Farm in Somers, also on Friday the 8th. From 6 to 8:30 in the evening. Eat, drink, and decorate. So people ages 18 and older can join Caitlin of CM Cookies for an evening of Muscoot mocktails and snacks while learning all the tips and tricks of cookie decorating. That costs $35 per person. Certainly you'll be able to see that online and click on there to register, and also, again, participate at the Alfred B. Del Bello Muscoot Farm up in Somers. Eat, drink, and decorate. On Saturday, right back at the Muscoot Farms, the Alfred B. Del Bello Muscoot Farms, Book Buddies, 9 to 12. So you'll be able to come into one of the animal enclosures, encourage your child to read in that unique atmosphere. You can bring one of your favorite books or one of your children's favorite books, or pick from our collection. That's also going to happen on November 23rd and December 21st, and that's at the Alfred B. Del Bello Muscoot Farm. And finally, on Sunday, November 10th, at the Lasden Park and Arboretum up in Katona, Yoga in the Gardens, 9:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m., where you'll be able to do a gentle discovery of the amazing benefits of a yoga practice. It could be $25 through $180, depending on how many sessions that you take. It's also going to be on November 10th, November 17th, and November 24th, basically weekly through the month of November. With that, we have had another opportunity for our weekly briefing. Tomorrow, again, as a final reminder, is November 5th, 2024. And while we've had a very challenging year from a political basis, it's your opportunity to make your voice heard. So take advantage of that opportunity from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. tomorrow to make sure your voice is heard and your vote counts. So With that, I'm Deputy County Executive Ken Jenkins. Have a wonderful week, and should we have the opportunity to have to come back to you for something that comes up sooner, later on this week, we'll certainly be seeing the things that happen with the budget for Westchester County. The operating budget will be coming out shortly. It's due by November 10th by law. And have a wonderful, wonderful week. Thanks for watching.